All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. You know how this works, right? We take one single source and really dive deep into it. Today we're talking about the future, like way out there in the future.
2035 to be exact.
Exactly, 2035, and we are talking all about Cardano, specifically how it could be so much more than just a cryptocurrency by then.
Potentially reshaping things like global finance, even governance.
Big claims,
Yeah.
huge. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind a bit. For those who may not be super familiar with Cardano already, could you give us a super quick rundown?
Totally. So, you know how people sometimes compare Bitcoin to digital gold? Like it's this valuable thing you hold on to. Well, Cardano, you can think of that more like a digital operating system. So it's built to run a whole bunch of different applications.
Interesting. Okay, so it's a platform. And
Yeah.
ADA, that's its own cryptocurrency, right?
Right. And something I find pretty interesting about Cardano is that they really pride themselves on this like rigorous and scientific approach to their development.
Okay, so this source we're looking at, it paints this, exciting picture of Cardano's future, but it kind of skips over, like, the messy early days. What do you think some of those early challenges might have been?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is adoption. Think about it, right? For any new tech, especially something in the like financial world, people got to trust it before they use it.
Makes sense.
So, building that trust, educating people about what it is, what it does, how it works, all of that would have been huge in the beginning. Oh, and then there's the constant pressure to innovate.
Right, because technology just moves so fast.
Exactly. So, they would have had to be laser focused on things like security, scalability, and keeping up with like all the new trends in the tech world.
All right, well, let's fast forward then. It's 2028, and according to our source, Cardano is a major player in emerging markets now.
Yeah, things like cross-border transactions, microloans, smart contracts.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Smart contracts. For the listeners out there who may not be like super techy, can you break those down for us?
Yeah, sure. Think of it as like a self-executing contract, but like written in computer code instead of, legal jargon. So basically, it cuts out the middleman. You don't need lawyers or banks to make sure everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Wow, I never thought about it like that before.
And that can be a game changer in emerging markets where like traditional financial systems can be so just slow and expensive.
And corrupt.
Exactly. So you can see how something like that could really empower people on the ground.
Speaking of empowering people, the source specifically mentions Cardano making an impact in Africa.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For example, they talk about these blockchain-based identity solutions.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So there are many places in Africa where people don't have like formal identification documents, which, might sound kind of strange to us, but it means they can't do things like vote or even open a bank account.
Wow.
Blockchain can totally change that by providing secure digital IDs, like verifiable on the blockchain.
So this isn't just about, like, money and technology. It's about people's lives.
That has the potential to be life-changing, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on. Our source, they call Cardano the green blockchain. What's the deal with that?
Yes. Well, unlike some other cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, which uses this energy-intensive process called proof of work, Cardano uses something called proof of stake.
Proof of stake.
So the simple version is the more ADA you hold, the more, say, you have in the network security.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that uses way less energy, which is a big concern for a lot of people these days.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just reading about how some artists, they were hesitant to get into like NFTs because of how much energy some blockchains use.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's a huge plus for Cardano. And it actually ties into this next point too, because our source says that by 2030, Cardano, it's going to be the platform for those, what are they called?
ESG projects.
ESG projects, yes. That stands for, help me out here.
Environmental, social, and governance.
That's it. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, so basically initiatives that are focused on doing good in the world. So you can imagine things like carbon credit marketplaces or even like the tokenization of renewable energy assets, all running on Cardano.
And investors are more and more interested in that kind of stuff.
Totally. People are looking for ways to make money and make a difference at the same time.
All right, ready for this next one? Because this one blew my mind a little bit. By 2033, this source says that developing nations are going to be holding ADA as a reserve asset.
Alongside gold and fiat currency.
Yeah, as if it's just as good as those things.
It's a bold prediction for sure.
What does that even mean? Like, how would a cryptocurrency become a reserve asset?
Well, it means Those countries see ADA as like a solid store of value. They're basically saying, we believe in Cardano. We think it's going to be around for the long haul.
But what would make them so confident?
Well, a couple of things. The source mentions algorithmic governance.
Okay, and what is that in plain English?
Basically, it means that Cardano's system is managed by pre-programmed rules, so there's less room for, like, human error or manipulation.
Makes sense.
They also talk about this treasury-funded innovation system, which basically means that there's always money going towards development and improvement. So you put all that together, and you can start to see how a country might feel pretty good about holding ADA as a reserve asset.
All right, so let's jump to the end. 2035. This is where it all comes together. The source basically paints this picture of ADA being like a fundamental part of how our world works.
Decentralized systems for just about everything: governance, education, finance.
So in this vision, Cardano isn't just a cryptocurrency. It's like this driving force behind, well, a better future.
Yeah, a more decentralized, more democratized world
Okay.
where people have more control over their own data, their own finances, their own lives.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's an amazing vision. But is it like actually realistic?
Honestly, it's hard to say. There are so many things that could happen between now and 2035. Technological breakthroughs, government regulations, even just public opinion could shift things dramatically.
Sure.
But I think regardless of whether this exact vision comes true, it's incredibly valuable to think about these possibilities.
Right.
It forces us to confront, like, the big questions. What kind of future do we want? And how can technology help us get there?
And that's what I love about these deep dives. It's not just about looking at some random source material. It's about using it as a springboard to explore these bigger ideas.
And hopefully have some really interesting conversations along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said. Thanks for joining me for another deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring.
See you then.